the KMNN studios, this is the Kids Morning News Network.
Good morning, friends. It's September 11th, 2024, the 255th day of the year. There are 111 days left in 2024, and this is the 112th episode of the Kids Morning News Network podcast. Do you suppose that means anything?
Huh?
I don't know. I'm Alex in the KMNN studio. Today is, of course, the anniversary of the September 11th attacks back in 2001. You may have learned about them in school or at home or in a book, and you may have noticed memorial ceremonies happening where you live. Why do we do this? Have memorials? Not just for big events like September 11th, but for things that are personal to each of us, like maybe the death of a pet. Well, memorials have been going on for as long as we can trace back human history. Have you ever seen pictures of the Taj Mahal? That huge, fancy building in India? That's a memorial that an emperor made for his wife who died. She was buried inside it. He loved her so much, he wanted the grandest building in the world to remember her. A place like the Lincoln Memorial is a little different. Abraham Lincoln isn't buried in the Lincoln Memorial, but it is a place people go to think about the great president. The ceremony that goes along with a memorial is just as important as the place. When something bad or sad happens to you, sometimes it makes you feel kind of alone. A memorial ceremony is a place to connect with other people who are also feeling emotions about the same person or event. And memorials can be a way to remember good things too, like a person you have good memories of, and be with other people who also have good memories of them. And finally, memorials can be a way to honor history and the people who lived years ago, even if we didn't personally know them, and kind of a way to say thank you for helping make the world we live in today. Memorials are not always easy places to visit, and memorial ceremonies are not always easy to be part of. They can bring up lots of feelings, but they also, hopefully, give us a chance to let those feelings out in a safe place. And by the way, humans may not be the only animals that have memorials. Elephants have been seen going to places where elephants they knew died. Sometimes they even pick up the bones of the dead elephants. We can't ask the elephants what they're doing, of course, but it's nice to imagine that they're doing something to make themselves feel better. On this day in 1940, 4 teenagers followed their dog into a cave and found some of the earliest artwork anyone has ever seen. The cave is in France, and the paintings and drawings on its walls are between 15,000 and 17,000 years old. There are about 600 paintings and drawings, and even more engravings in the stone. They include depictions of animals, things like horses and deer and creatures that look like cows and some kind of cat. But there are also pictures we assume are only imagined, like a man with a bird's head and an animal that looks an awful lot like a unicorn. No one knows why ancient people made these drawings and paintings and carvings, but scientists think this cave may have been a place for ceremonies, and in particular ceremonies that were held before or after a hunt. The cave was open to the public in 1948, but the artificial lighting made the paintings fade, and it made algae grow on the walls. So it was closed to the public in 1963, and the paintings inside were restored. But a replica was built nearby so people can visit and see what it looks like. And there are now even traveling replicas, so people all around the world can have a chance to look through this window into human history. It's riddle time. Last Friday's riddle was, How can the number 4 be half of 5? Well, this one's kind of tricky, but it's when you write in Roman numerals, because IV is 4, which is the middle 2 letters of 5. And 5 is 4 letters, so that's half. If you've been listening to this show for a while, you know I love the riddle battle between Bilbo and Gollum in The Hobbit. Here's another riddle from it. What has roots nobody sees, is taller than trees, up, up it goes, and yet never grows? I'll say it again. What has roots nobody sees, is taller than trees, up, up it goes, and yet never grows? Well, I'll give you the answer next Wednesday, but you've got to make sure you follow or subscribe to the Kids Morning News Network so you don't miss it. There are lots of robots in the news lately. Robots delivering packages, robots cruising up and down the aisles in grocery stores. Do you have those too? I'm not quite sure what they do. And now with AI, you hear more about robots that can do things all by themselves, make decisions. What do you think a robot controlled by an animal would be like? Would the animal make it do the same things the animal does? And how about a robot controlled by a plant? What would that robot do? I'm not sure those exist yet, but it seems like we've kind of skipped over them because something even more wacky is out there now. A robot controlled by not an animal, not a plant, but a mushroom. Yes, a mushroom, which is its own thing, a fungus. And you don't think of fungi, that's how you say more than one fungus, you don't think of fungi as being really exciting, not very active. But researchers in the US are making kind of a cyborg mushroom robot creation that can move around on its own, depending on how much light there is. There's one that looks like a star that crawls around and one that's got wheels that drives around. The way they're doing it is because all living cells, from fungi to people, create a little electrical current or a signal. Your nerves run on electricity. Your heart beats because of an electrical signal, and fungi create signals too. A mushroom, by the way, is just the hat. Underneath the mushroom, it's got tendrils, little hair-like growths, kind of like a jellyfish. The scientists are getting those to grow into the robot's hardware. So those little tendrils, or mycelia as they're called, grow around the electrodes in the robot. When the mushroom senses light, it sends a little signal through its tendrils and the robot can pick it up, and that makes the robot move. It's pretty amazing. Scientists hope that this kind of biohybrid will one day be useful to us in some way, but I don't know. A robot and a fungus that moves around on its own? This is like the scariest disaster movie nobody has made yet. All right, that's this week's show. Thank you very much for listening. Please follow or subscribe to the Kids Morning News Network on your podcast player, your podcast app, your smart device, or whatever you're using to hear this episode. I will be back next Wednesday, and I hope you are too. From the KMNN Newsroom, this is Alex, signing off.